This is Chick Hearn, and I've been privileged to be the voice of the Lakers for the past 3 seasons. And we're here now to bring you the story of Major League Basketball.
Wilt Chamberlain died in 1999 from heart failure, and the way he lived really was tragic, but not for the reasons most people think. Everyone talks about Wilt like he was this giant ego who cared more about numbers than winning. They say he was selfish and hard to coach. The truth is way different. Wilt wasn't the problem. The problem was a world that never understood him. Wilt grew up in Philadelphia as one of 9 kids. Even as a child, he faced racism everywhere he went. When he got to college at Kansas, things got worse. In 1955, he wasn't even invited to play in a big prep game in Kentucky. Why? Because they had never invited a black player before. This wasn't about talent. This was about race. The racism followed him everywhere. During one exhibition tour, Wilt and his teammates stopped at a restaurant in Missouri. The white owner served all the white players first. When he got to Wilt, he said, "The kitchen's closed." Wilt and his black teammates had to leave hungry while the white players stayed and ate. Nobody on the team ever talked about it. That was just how things were back then. Wilt couldn't even buy a house where he wanted. A developer in San Francisco refused to sell to him. The man told reporters he didn't like mixing races in neighborhoods. He said black people didn't have enough money and he didn't like them as a group. This happened to Wilt even though he was famous and rich. The NBA wasn't any better. Team owners had secret rules about how many black players they could have. Most teams only allowed 4 black players at most. When Wilt got hurt during a playoff game in 1964, nobody from the league office cared. Nobody investigated who hurt him. If it happened to a white star, things would have been different. All this racism made Wilt think about quitting basketball after just 1 season. He was tired of being double-teamed and triple-teamed every night. He was tired of fans booing him just because he was tall and black and dominant. So he left college early and joined the Harlem Globetrotters instead. With the Globetrotters, Wilt finally felt free. He wasn't being judged or criticized. He was just entertaining people who loved watching him play. They even got to meet important leaders like Nikita Khrushchev in Russia. For the first time, Wilt felt like people appreciated his talents instead of resenting them. When Wilt finally joined the NBA, he became a statistical monster right away. He averaged over 37 points per game as a rookie. Nobody had ever done that before. Then in 1962, he scored 100 points in a single game. That record still stands today and probably always will. But the media hated how good Wilt was. If he scored 40 points one night, they called him a bum. If he only scored 35 the next night. If he played all 48 minutes, they said he was showing off.
Chamberlain, one of the best in the game at handing off to the cutters.
If he rested even a little bit, they said he was lazy. There was no way for Wilt to win with the press. The worst part was his rivalry with Bill Russell. Russell's Boston Celtics won 11 championships, while Wilt only won 2. This made everyone think Russell was better, even though Wilt usually played better in their head-to-head games. When they faced each other in the playoffs, Wilt actually averaged more points and more rebounds than Russell. But Russell's team won more games, so Russell got all the credit. People said Russell made his teammates better while Wilt only cared about his own stats. This wasn't fair at all. Wilt's teams just weren't as good as the Celtics. Boston had better players around Russell. They had better coaches too, but nobody wanted to admit that. It was easier to blame Wilt. The criticism got so bad that Wilt decided to prove everyone wrong. In 1968, he led the entire league in assists. He was a 7-foot center getting more assists than point guards. No center had ever done that before or since. Wilt compared it to Babe Ruth leading baseball in sacrifice bunts. It showed how complete a player he was. But even then, people complained. They said Wilt was only passing to prove a point about not being selfish. They couldn't just admit he was an amazing basketball player who could do everything. When he scored too much, he was selfish. When he passed too much, he was trying to show off. Wilt couldn't win no matter what he did. The truth is that Wilt could adapt his game however coaches wanted.
This is his famed backhand flipper, and it's a tough one. But for all the fine players that the Lakers boast, the club's biggest asset is the greatest offensive 1-2 punch in the history of the game.
Alex Hannum became his coach in Philadelphia. Hannum told Wilt to focus more on defense and passing. Wilt listened and had one of his best seasons ever. The team went 68-13 and won the championship. Wilt averaged a career low in scoring, but shot over 68% from the field. He proved he could play any style of basketball. Wilt's physical abilities were so incredible that they had to change the rules of basketball because of him. The NCAA made new rules about free throws because Wilt could dunk from the free throw line. They banned inbound passes over the backboard because Wilt could catch them too easily. One player forced the entire sport to change its rules. That shows how special he was. People also don't realize how durable Wilt was. He never fouled out of a game in his entire career. He averaged over 45 minutes per game for his whole career. In one season, he averaged over 48 minutes per game, which means he got less than 6 seconds of rest per game. He played through injuries that would sideline other players. His work ethic was incredible. After basketball, Wilt tried many different things. He acted in movies like Conan the Destroyer with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He appeared on TV shows and talk shows. He invested in real estate and restaurants. He stayed in amazing physical shape, running marathons and playing volleyball, even as he got older. Speaking of watching those classic games, if you want to see vintage basketball from Wilt's era, Fubo has incredible sports packages that let you dive deep, make it easy to appreciate how special that time period really was.
Punch is clever Guy Rogers. He's small, but he's a mighty guard. That's Rogers from Chamberlain.
Wilt also gave back to his community in ways most people never knew about. After he died, a huge amount of money went to scholarships for kids in Philadelphia. His sisters said he was always giving and generous, even when they were young and didn't have much money. The Wilt Chamberlain Memorial Fund still helps young people today. What's really sad is that Wilt dealt with heart problems for most of his adult life. He had an irregular heartbeat since his 20s, but he kept it private. In his final years, his health got much worse. He lost 30 to 40 pounds in his last few weeks as doctors tried to help him. He died alone in his house in California at age 63. Wilt wasn't a selfish player or a bad teammate. He was a revolutionary athlete who happened to be black in an era when that made everything harder. He faced racism from fans, media, and even his own league. But he kept playing and kept trying to prove himself worthy of respect. The numbers Wilt put up will never be matched. Nobody will ever score 100 points in a game again. Nobody will ever average 50 points and 25 rebounds for a season. Nobody will ever grab 55 rebounds in one game. These records aren't just impressive, they're impossible. But Wilt's real legacy isn't his statistics. It's how he changed people's minds about what tall athletes could do. Before Wilt, really tall people were seen as freaks. After Wilt, they were seen as potential basketball stars.
It's all said and done, though. It's Wilt Chamberlain that the Warriors will turn to. That fall-away jumper just cannot be stopped.
He opened doors for every big man who came after him. Wilt Chamberlain was one of the greatest athletes who ever lived. He just happened to live in a time when people weren't ready to appreciate someone like him. The sadness in his life came from a world that couldn't see past his height and his race to recognize his humanity. But his talent was so undeniable that even his critics had to respect what he accomplished. Today, we can look back and see Wilt for what he really was. Not a selfish stat chaser, but a pioneer who changed basketball forever while dealing with challenges most athletes never have to face.